Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel for another great eShop deals video. This video is going to focus entirely on games that are $10 and under. We've got well more than 20 games to go over, so let's jump right in and look at them. Now we'll go ahead and order these games from least expensive to most expensive, so we're starting out right at the rock bottom $2 deals. First of all, we have Hungry Shark World that is matching its previous low, 80% off for $1.99. This game goes on sale a lot. I just felt like at least one time I should mention it. This is not a deep game. This is kind of a shallow game experience, but if you like something where you can just sort of turn off your brain, I think you would really enjoy this. It's a basic game where you play as a shark and you're eating up stuff to level up and evolve your shark and also unlock new shark forms. Very much a mobile game that's been ported over to the Switch, but it is addictive and I really enjoy it. It's not going to light your video game world on fire, but I think again, if you want something that's a little bit just like mindless fun to do maybe while you're doing something else, you would really enjoy Hungry Shark World. Valiant Hearts: The Great War is hitting its new lowest price ever, finally hitting that rock bottom, $1.99. That is 90% off. This is a really cool sort of cinematic comic book style action platformer adventure. All takes place during World War I. It is actually kind of a unique sort of educational experience too. Don't let that scare you off because it's still just a really great game, but if you don't know much about World War I, it could be a really interesting way to learn a little bit more about it. But a very well-reviewed game. The port on Switch is really well done. Again, the lowest price ever, definitely worth checking out at least at some point if you are into cinematic platformers. Rubber Bandits is an almost brand new game and it's getting its lowest price ever already, $1.99. Seems like they probably want to spur on some sales. I actually just did a live stream of this with my wife over the weekend. Definitely 100% worth $1.99. In fact, this game is already only normally $10, and I think even at that, it's a pretty darn good deal. It does have online play and it's cross-platform, and I can tell you that even though if the Switch version isn't selling well, it doesn't really matter. I found full groups of people to play with every time, and it's absolutely silly chaos. The multiplayer breaks down into multiple different modes. There's some where you have to steal the most loot. There's some where it's just a sort of a Smash Bros style brawl. But it's all about just picking up items, throwing them at each other, throwing each other off the level. Again, maybe taking on the cops and trying to make your way in and smash up something and grab the loot and get out. Basically, if you enjoy these sort of crazy physics-based kind of games, but mixed with a sort of party atmosphere, I think you would really enjoy Rubber Bandits. Sega Age is virtual racing. I have talked about this before in a deal video. This is hitting its new lowest price ever, only $2.79. That is 65% off. This is really an amazing port of a classic Sega game, but what really makes this stand out is the fact that this has offline up to 8 players. Yes, it can split the screen, offline up to 8 players, still run the game at 60 frames per second. And really, there are too many games that take advantage of the fact that you can do up to 8 people on a Switch, and this is one that not only does it, but does it really well. The Swindle is currently 80% off for only $2.99. Now, this is a game that I'm going to be picking up on this sale. This is another game that goes on sale quite often. I just felt like now would be about the time to go ahead and give it a mention. From my understanding, this is basically a roguelike, but actually mixed with a sort of stealth heist game mechanic. So it's all done in this sort of steampunk world. You are making your way into these areas where you need to steal money and jewels and whatnot. They are all procedurally generated, just like a roguelike. It has roguelike perks, all that good stuff. I will forewarn you that the reviews on this are mixed. And when I say mixed, I don't just mean there's a bunch of middling reviews. It's more like there's a lot of people that think it's the best thing ever, and then there's some people that just really didn't like it. And among the people who didn't like it, they did say the controls could get a little bit slippery and finicky. So I think you definitely want to have a little bit of a tolerance for maybe a game that isn't super refined, but it is a unique roguelike experience and not one that I can think of anything else to compare to. Snake Pass is back again, matching its previous low for $2.99. That is a full 85% off. This is one of the OG Switch games. It used to go on sale a lot. It just came back this winter with another sale at this same price, so maybe it's going to be coming in a lot more for more deals, but just in case it doesn't and goes back to multiple years with no sales, it might be the time to go ahead and pick it up. If you're not familiar, Snake Pass is a platformer where you play as a snake. Now, you got to know going into this game that it probably isn't for everyone. It's actually quite difficult. You're going to be using the stick and guiding your snake back and forth with the stick, just like a snake would move, and that is really required for movement. And the other mechanics are basically sort of constricting or loosening your body to grab onto things as you're climbing up. It's one of those things where your brain just isn't really hardwired from any sort of previous game to know how to play this, so you've got to be okay with a pretty big learning curve, but if you can get through that learning curve, it's really rewarding and you'll really enjoy it. And finally, for the $2 deals, we have the Persistence, which is matching its previous low price, 90% off for $2.99. I can't really tell you too much about this other than that I know that it's a horror roguelike and it's really well reviewed by both the critics and the users. You know that I'm not a big horror guy. I'm not going to pick this up, but again, it seems like fans of the genre absolutely eat this one up, and for a Switch game, it looks pretty darn good. Now we're moving up into more of the $5 deals, and man, we've got a big one to start it with. Katamari Damacy Reroll is hitting its new aggressively lowest price ever, 85% off, only $4.49. If you've never tried a Katamari Damacy game, now would be an amazing time to drop in. It's real simple. You play as the Prince of the Cosmos, and he is rolling things into a ball. And so you'll start out rolling little things on a carpet, and eventually you'll be rolling skyscrapers into this ball. It's just a goofy, crazy physics game. Nothing else to really compare it to, but I love Katamari Damacy, and I wholeheartedly recommend at least picking up one entry in this series at some point. Very, Very Valet is hitting its lowest price ever, 67% off. That brings it down to $4.99. Really excited about this one. I played this a long time ago, and I was really impressed by it. It's a goofy party game, and I know there's a lot of them, but I really enjoyed the concept for this. Basically, you play as these Muppety-looking creatures, which kind of seems inconsequential. It's just kind of the art aesthetic they went for, but it's all about valeting customers. So you'll be picking up people as they arrive somewhere. You got to go park their car, and then eventually they'll come out. You got to go pick up their car and go pick them back up and take them off. It's all done in a crazy co-op setup. I know that this is a pretty saturated genre, if you will, but I think that this is one of the better ones, and definitely for $5 is well worth it. Fury Unleashed is matching its previous low, which just started its last sale, $4.99. It's probably going to hold steady now at that price, but I thought I would go ahead and give it another mention. If you're new to this channel, you just have to know that I've mentioned this in multiple deal videos. I love Fury Unleashed. It's an amazing roguelike, run-and-gun platformer. The whole game takes place in a comic book world where the artist of the comic book is basically losing his mind, and you're sort of sorting that out by playing the game. Typical roguelike, all kinds of permanent upgrades, but then also picking up temporary upgrades for each run, and all kinds of great, cool weapons. Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville Complete Edition is hitting its new lowest price, 85% off for only $5.99. I gotta tell you that Plants vs. Zombies as a series, it might be one of my favorite online shooters ever. Battle for Neighborville is not necessarily my favorite out of the three, but it's still really solid. It runs shockingly well on the Switch, has online multiplayer for up to 16 people. But don't worry if you're not into the online, there's all kinds of single-player campaign missions. If you're intimidated by other online shooters, the more military style, and you want something that's sort of, I wouldn't call it easy, but eases you in with a theme that's a little more fun and easy to get into, Plants vs. Zombie games are just amazing for that. Next, we have Jelly Break Deluxe, which is an ultra rare sale. This is the first time this game has gone on sale since November 26th of 2020. It is 70% off for only $5.99. Now, one of my subscribers, the next GM30, did suggest this, so I want to thank you for that very much. It looks like a really solid little game. Basically seems like it's a sort of platformer, isometric, sort of twin-stick shooter type of setup. It uses a mechanic that some other games have used where it's all sort of color-coded, so there's going to be platforms that only certain one of these jelly characters can get on. In co-op, you'll actually be jumping on the back of the person who's able to jump on those platforms, so sounds like in co-op, it probably really comes alive and it's a lot of fun, but it's really well reviewed, I think, for either or, so definitely worth checking out. Who knows if this is going to be another 2-3 years until we see another deal for this one. And the last deal we're getting in that $5 range is Iconoclass. It is 70% off, matching its previous low of $5.99. This game goes on sale semi-frequently, but it's been a full 2 years since it's hit this low again. If you're looking for a beautiful Metroidvania style game, I say Metroidvania style because I think this game is a little bit too linear to be called a full-on Metroidvania, But it's definitely a game that still kind of has that Metroidvania feel, but it's gorgeous, has great characters, great writing, all kinds of cool mechanics and abilities to unlock. Definitely an essential for those platforming adventure Metroidvania fans out there. All right, so we're about to move into the above $5 section, but can you do me a big favor? If you're enjoying this content and it adds value to your life, go ahead and click that subscribe button. It really does help a small channel like mine. Also, just so you know, I am live streaming on this channel quite frequently, and I've decided to go ahead and mark Thursdays for now on as a go-to live stream. So we're going to do what I'm going to call the eShop Drop live stream on Thursday evenings. That will be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for about 3 hours, we will either check out multiple games, or maybe if there's a big release, it'll just be one game. But either way, if you like all of the big eShop drops every week and you want to check them out on Thursday, you can come join me for a little late night live stream. Also, I'll be live streaming the new platformer Clive and Wrench on Friday. You can look for that at around 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Rise Race the Future is hitting its lowest price ever, 60% off for only $6.59, almost making it into that $5 range. I don't know a whole lot about this. I just know that it's pretty well reviewed. The basic gist of it is that I've seen it basically say that it's a Ridge Racer combined with Wave Race, which sounds like a weird little mixture, but basically you play as these futuristic cars. There's all kind of drift style racing, and then as soon as you hit water, it turns into a hoverboat, and it really kind of changes the way the game feels to play and goes into like something that plays more like Wave Race. So if you're a fan of both of those genres and you've always somehow thought they needed to go together, I guess this is the game for you. But again, most of the outlets that I've checked out that reviewed it seemed pretty darn positive on it, and I think at this price it's definitely worth it. Buddy Simulator 1984 is hitting a wickedly low price at 33% off. That is its lowest price ever, bringing it down to $6.66. I'll be honest, I'm not a big horror fan, but this one was one I knew I just had to check out, and I was absolutely blown away by how much I loved it. Now, I don't want to spoil too much, but even just from seeing the trailer, you kind of get an idea of where this is going. Basically, it's made to feel like it's this DOS game from the 80s that you're playing, and the whole idea is that you're talking to someone and they're talking back. Eventually, it turns into sort of a Zelda-style top-down adventure. But the creepiness factor is all about the fact that the game seems to be communicating with you and seems to know things about you. I wouldn't call this game outright scary, but it definitely has a strong creepiness factor, and it's really unique, unlike anything else I've ever played. Golf Story is hitting its previously low price of 53% off, only $6.99. An absolutely amazing golf RPG adventure. I'm recommending this one because as of right now, we're still waiting for them to truly iron out Sports Story, which is of course the sequel. I do know that they've had an update recently that fixed a lot of glitches, but it still seems like there's a little bit of an issue with some of Sports Story's performance and just the general game balance. So you might still want to hold off on that one, but Golf Story is fully recommended, and it's an essential addition to any One-Switch collection who enjoys arcade style golf games. Cathedral is matching its previous low, 50% off for only $7.49. I don't know a lot about this one. I just know that often when I hear talk of underrated Metroidvanias, Cathedral gets brought up quite frequently. I think it's one of those games that maybe could get lost in the mix with that 8-bit art style, which sometimes is kind of overused among different publishers. But from fans of the genre, they just seem to absolutely love this one. The Steam reviews are very good, and just so you know, it is a big game. You can easily get about 20 to 25 hours out of this one. Now, moving on to a game from the same publisher that I have played and I adore is Alwa's Legacy. It is 50% off for only $8.99. This is another Metroidvania. This one is just exquisite, an absolutely gorgeous sort of 16-bit, 32-bit 2D art style, with just a big open world, all kinds of cool powers. The controls are just absolutely spot on and perfect. If you love a retro throwback that gets that sort of essence of a retro style game, but feels more modern and that it's more refined, this is definitely one that will scratch that itch. Sayonara Wild Hearts is 40% off for only $7.79. An absolutely amazing rhythm game. It's going to be a total treat for your eyes. The soundtrack to this one is absolutely amazing. But yeah, you're going to be riding motorcycles, skateboarding, dance battling, shooting lasers, wielding swords, all kinds of crazy stuff to this really cool custom-written pop soundtrack. It's really phenomenal. Art of Rally is hitting its new lowest price ever, 65% off, only $8.65. This is a really beautiful looking sort of minimalistic rally racing game. Now, don't worry if you don't know anything about rally racing game. This game has all kinds of different challenge levels from beginner to expert. Definitely a game you could either just truly relax with, or if you really want to crank it up, you can also have a real challenge with it too if you want. Personally, I find this art style just hypnotically beautiful, so I think that this might be the time that I finally pick it up. I played it on other platforms and really enjoyed it there, but I kind of want to get it handheld. Another racing game, Inertial Drift, is hitting its lowest price ever, 55% off. That brings it down to only $8.99. This is a really strange racing game, unlike anything else I've ever played. The basic gist is that you actually use both sticks when racing, and the right stick actually controls your drift. So at any point, you can basically push in on that right stick, and you can change which way you're drifting. So obviously, drifting is a huge part of this game. So if you're a sucker for other games that have really dove deep into the sort of drifting mechanics, this is sort of the pinnacle of that, if you will. But really runs beautifully on the Switch, looks gorgeous, definitely an all-around great racing game. Well, I've got to mention the Sega Genesis Classics Collection. Once again, 70% off for only $8.99. I don't need to say a lot about this. It's a big, massive package full of tons of different Genesis games. Over 50 titles. You got action, you got RPG, you got adventure, beat 'em ups, all kinds of great stuff. I would still encourage you to pick this up, even like me, if you're not a big fan of the Sega Genesis back in the day, because there are definitely some games in here that you probably never even heard of, and once you try them out, you're going to see what you were missing. From Space is hitting its lowest price ever, 35% off for only $9.74. I'm excited about this deal. This is a really unique little online co-op game. The easiest way to describe this is think top-down, Left 4 Dead, but you're taking on these sort of bubblegum-looking aliens. But just like Left 4 Dead, it's up to 4 people. You're going to be looting areas and finding new weapons and new gear. And again, taking on big hordes of all these bubblegum-looking aliens. A great way to dip your toes into that sort of co-op shooter genre if you're intimidated by zombie games or things that seem more aggressive. But don't worry, you can't play it single player. I did play quite a bit of it single player, and I still very much enjoyed it that way. Subnautica is 67% off, its lowest price ever by far, only $9.89. I've said before, this is a game I will probably never ever play. The fear of the ocean and deep water is too strong for me, but it is an amazing Switch port. If you are not familiar with Subnautica, it's basically an underwater survival game. You're going to be building an underwater base, and there's all kinds of exploring, but there's also going to be a lot of deep water, and there might be a few jump scares here and there. Kataria Fables is hitting its lowest price ever, 50% off for only $9.99. This is a game I had to familiarize myself with for this video. Had never really taken a look at it before. Basically, it's a sort of top-down action adventure RPG game, also mixed with a sort of Harvest Moon style farming mechanic. To be honest, that's a pretty saturated genre also right now, but this one seems to be pretty well reviewed, definitely has a dedicated fan base, and if you're looking for something that is a nice little adventure game that isn't going to be too hard and you can just sort of relax while playing, I think that this would be a solid pickup. All right, the next 2 games are really more of a PSA for you rather than just a recommendation. Borderlands, the Legendary Collection, and Bioshock, the Collection, are both $9.99. That is pretty typical for where they normally go out. I just wanted to point out that every time their collections go on sale, the individual games also go on sale. And for instance, with Borderlands, you could buy the Handsome Collection for $9.99, or you can buy just the original game, Borderlands, the Game of the Year Edition, for $9.89. But that's insane. It's the same price as just getting the collection that comes with all of it. Same thing with Bioshock. You could get any of the individual games for $7.99, or you can pay $2 more and get all 3 games. So I just think people need to know when you're looking through the eShop. I've seen this happen multiple times with different games, that it's actually cheaper. It's crazy, but it's cheaper sometimes to get the big collection than just the individual games. Nino Cooney, Wrath of the White Witch, is 80% off for only $9.99. That does match its previous low. I'm not a big Japanese RPG guy, but man, Nino Cooney is amazing. If you are looking for a game that is just drop dead gorgeous, this is the one you want. The animation for the cutscenes out of this game all come out of Studio Ghibli, so it is top notch. But it has some really cool battle systems that actually include a sort of like Pokemon element where you're going to be collecting different creatures to help you in battle. Really unique, definitely nothing quite like it. Definitely should be in the collection of anyone who likes a good JRPG. And lastly, we have a very weird game to recommend, I Am Dead. It's 50% off for only $9.99. I've always wanted to kind of mention this one. This is such a strange little game, very well reviewed. The basic gist of this is that your character has died and you are going back through this town to solve mysteries. But what's unique is you can literally like look inside of stuff. So maybe there might be a character and you can actually go into their brain, look inside to kind of find clues. Very strange, kind of, if you've ever played any game where you kind of push through something and you kind of break the boundary and you know that's like not part of the game, imagine they kind of took that, but they made it actually the mechanic, and that's kind of what this is like. Really weird, nothing else like it. Definitely for people who want something really strange. All right, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you haven't subscribed already, I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. Hopefully, I'll see you on one of the live streams this week, and until next time, I hope you have great gaming, tricksters. Bye-bye.